Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into untangling what has to be one of the most common and, let's be honest, frustrating architectural knots in the modern enterprise landscape. We're going to completely demystify the overlapping capabilities of SAP's core finance and planning tools. I'm talking about S/4HANA Management Accounting, PAM, and SAC. Our ultimate goal here? To help you design a super clean, principle-based system that completely avoids redundant logic and that dreaded data chaos. Let's get into it. So, here's our roadmap. We'll quickly cover the basic principles of boundaries, then look at S/4HANA as your actual source, PAPRAM as your advanced calculation engine, and SAC for planning and decisions. After that, we'll map out an optimal integration architecture and wrap up with the anti-patterns you absolutely need to avoid. Okay, so here is the elephant in the room for every enterprise architect out there. If you just glance at a feature list, S/4HANA, PAM, and SAC all boast capabilities for allocations, calculations, and reporting. It's like a giant puzzle, right? But choosing a tool isn't just about what it can technically do. It's really about whether the end result is supposed to be a legally binding actual, a massive experimental simulation, or a future plan. That's the real question. Which brings us to our first section, the basic principles of functional boundaries. To successfully navigate this architecture, we have to totally shift our mindset away from a simple feature-based approach and move to a strictly purpose-driven one. You have to decide exactly where our result becomes the official system of record before you write even a single line of logic. So here are the four guiding principles. Accounting actuals strictly belong in S/4HANA. Standard controlling features should always be exhausted first. Next, heavy, complex computational logic gets isolated in PAPM. And finally, SAC handles your planning experience without ever trying to replace your actuals ledger. All right, moving right along to section 2, let's talk about S/4HANA, your actuals, source, and ultimate system of record. Let's take a closer look at our first protagonist here, SAP S/4HANA Management Accounting. Basically, S/4HANA is built from the ground up for recording and controlling cold, hard facts. Its primary, absolute first duty is making sure that financial and logistical transactions are consistently attributed to the correct management accounting objects. The Universal Journal, ACDOCA for the technical folks tuning in, is where these facts are permanently anchored. It's the bedrock. So what exactly should it handle? Well, if your allocation results need to be explained as an accounting actual, or if they're tied to period and closing procedures, or, and this is a big one, if an auditor with a magnifying glass needs to drill down to the exact line item, S/4HANA is your definitive and honestly your only choice. Things like standard overhead allocations, order settlements, and margin analysis, they belong right here in the core. But, and you knew there was a but coming, S/4HANA absolutely has its limits. This is vital. Forcing arbitrary, high-granularity hypotheses into your core ledger creates immense, totally unnecessary complexity. Think about blending massive external datasets to run daily what-if scenarios. If you do that, you're just polluting your pristine actuals and seriously degrading the performance of your financial core. Just don't do it. That perfectly sets up Section 3, PAPM, our advanced calculation engine. Now we pivot over to SAP Profitability and Performance Management, which most of us just call PAPM. This is a tool designed specifically to step in right where standard ERP limitations begin. Think of PAPM as your heavy-lifting logic engine. It's built to crunch possibilities and process incredibly complex rules, and it does all this without strictly requiring every single step to immediately become a legally binding journal entry. This brilliantly highlights exactly what PAPM is great at. Picture it kind of like a giant funnel feeding into a high-speed gearbox. It excels at taking multiple SAP and non-SAP data sources and just churning through dozens of steps of crazy industry-specific rules. We're talking deep customer cost-to-serve models or massive global regulatory calculations, like Pillar 2. And the best part? It preserves the trace of every single calculation step at lightning speed. But here is a massive boundary warning you have to keep in mind. You must never, ever treat a raw PABOM results table as a finalized statutory ledger. Yes, it generates incredibly accurate numbers, but actually converting those numbers into an official accounting actual, that requires deliberate synchronization, strict approval workflows, and proper reconciliation right back into S/4HANA's Universal Journal. Okay, let's jump to Section 4, SAC, the home for planning, decisions, and analytics. Let's look at our third pillar, SAP Analytics Cloud, or SAC. While S4HANA records historical facts and PAPM calculates all that complex logic we just talked about, SAC focuses completely on the user experience of strategy. Its fundamental role is entirely forward-looking. It seamlessly blends business intelligence, enterprise planning, and predictive analytics into one unified environment for actually making decisions. SAC truly shines when your business users need to interactively create private or public planning versions. If your teams need to collaborate on forecast workflows, or push top-down budget distributions using data actions, or even just visually analyze the gap between your baseline budget and your actuals, SAC is exactly where they should be operating. It's their strategic workspace. Yet again, though, we run into a hard boundary. Embedding extremely granular multi-step calculation engines inside SAC's advanced formulas is a huge mistake. If you try it, it will inevitably degrade system performance and completely obscure your audit trail. Furthermore, SAC should never, under any circumstances, be forced to act as a substitute for period-end financial journal entries. So Section 5. Let's talk about the optimal integration architecture and how we synthesize all these tools together. Now, what is really fascinating here is how the exact same word, allocation, means completely different things depending on which system you're talking about. In S4HANA, an allocation is a rigid, rule-based accounting value flow. In PAPM, it's an advanced mathematical data model. And in SAC, it's a future scenario distribution across a planning version. Recognizing these distinctions, that's the absolute secret to perfect integration. Now that we've clearly defined the boundaries of each tool, let's look at how they build together in what we call a closed-loop pattern, say for a complex manufacturing scenario. Step 1. Your baseline facts and master data flow securely from the S4HANA ledger. Step 2. PAPM receives that data and executes all the heavy processing and cost-to-serve logic. Finally, Step 3. SAC visualizes those rich results, allowing your business leaders to approve a new predictive plan. It flows logically, right? Facts, then logic, then decisions. Finally, we arrive at Section 6, anti-patterns and the architectural traps you need to avoid. To really lock this clarity in, we need some defensive guardrails. Let's expose some common traps organizations fall into when they just let features dictate their design. Here's a classic one: duplicating the exact same overhead allocation logic across S4HANA, PPM, and SAC. If you do this, your results will inevitably drift over time. You have to aggressively assign a single system of record for every calculation rule. No exceptions. Here's another major red flag: trying to use SAC as a makeshift actuals ledger by indiscriminately importing every single granular accounting line item from the Universal Journal. Doing that absolutely destroys your performance, but more importantly, it completely ignores the fact that SAC's version management is fundamentally different from S4HANA's strict financial period and ledger controls. Keep the detailed actuals where they belong, guys. So, if you take away absolutely anything from this explainer today, let it be this golden rule. It's simple. S4HANA is for facts, PAPM is for complex logic, and SAC is for decisions. By strictly honoring these functional boundaries, you maintain a clean core, you guarantee financial auditability, and you empower your business users with incredible agility. It's a win-win. I want to leave you with this final challenge. Take a really hard look at your current SAP landscape tomorrow morning. Are you purposefully mapping your data to its true system of record, or is feature-based confusion hiding your path to true architectural clarity? Remember, don't let the software menu dictate your business. Let the true purpose of the tool drive your design. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.